Tangena tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavanscha Shri Rūpam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadhvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Pada Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakanitamscha Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti-vedanta Swamiti Namini Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashatya Deshatarine Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namine Gauratushe Namaha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Krishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Sripriye Mancha Kalpatarurvyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhyayevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna. Welcome everyone. So we're going to start with the study of chapter 18 today, characteristics of someone on the platform of Bhava Bhakti. So yesterday we discussed that the goal of sadhana bhakti is Bhava Bhakti. And this Bhava Bhakti is just like a ray of the sun of prema. It's a particle of prema, prema anshu. So like that, or prema kana. We discussed in detail about how one comes to bhava through the mercy or through one's endeavors. The mercy can be obtained from Krishna or from some pure devotee of Krishna. Right? So we discussed all that. Now let's read the characteristics of bhava bhakti. What happened today? Others are, everyone's video is off. Yes. No. Manish, would you please read utilization of time?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Utilization of time. An unalloyed devotee who has developed ecstatic love for Krishna is always engaging his words in deciding prayers to the Lord. Within the mind, he is always thinking of Krishna, and with his body, he either offers obeisances by bowing down before the deity or engaged in some other service. During these ecstatic activities, he sometimes sheds tears. In this way, his whole life is engaged in the service of the Lord, with not a moment wasted on any other engagement. Should I continue, Prabhuji?
Yes.
Preservance. When a person is undistributed, even in the presence of various causes of disturbance, he is called reserved and preservant. Preservant. An example of
Perseverance.
perseverance and reservation is found in the behavior of King Parikshit. as described in the first canto, 19th chapter, verse 15 of Srimad Bhagavatam. The king says, there are all sages present before him at the time of his death. My dear Brahmanas, you should always accept me as your surrendered servant. I have come to the bank of Ganges just to devote my heart and soul unto the lotus feet of Lord Krishna. So please bless me that Mother Ganges may also be pleased with me. Let the curse of Brahmana's son fall upon me. I do not mind. I only request that at last moment of my life, all of you will kindly chant the holy name of Vishnu so that I may realize his transcendental qualities. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. This example of Maharaj Parikshit's behavior is remaining patient even at the last point of his life. His undisturbed condition of mind is an example of preservation. Actually, it should be perseverance. This is one of the characteristics of a devotee who has developed ecstatic love for Krishna. Detachment, third quality. So these symptoms which we are studying are reliable symptoms through which we can understand if someone is on the platform of bhav. Because one cannot imitate these symptoms. Neither one can hide these symptoms, right? Other things can be hidden or imitated, but these things cannot be imitated and cannot be hidden also. Next is virakti or detachment. Yes, Mukta Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Danpat Pranam. Detachment. The senses are always desiring sense enjoyment, but when a devotee develops transcendental love for Krishna, his senses are no longer attracted by material desires. This state of mind is called detachment. There is a nice example of this detachment in connection with the character of King Bharata. In the fifth canto, 14th chapter, verse 43 of Shrimad Bhagavatam, it is stated, Emperor Bharata was so attracted by the beauty of the lotus feet of Krishna that even in his youthful life he gave up all kinds of attachments to family, children, friends, kingdom, etc., as though they were untouchable stools. Prabhuji, shall I continue?
Yeah.
Emperor Bharata provides a typical example of detachment. He had everything enjoyable in the material world, but he left it. This means that detachment does not mean artificially keeping oneself aloof and apart from the allurements of attachment. Even in the presence of such allurements, if one can remain unattracted by material attachments, he is called detached. In the beginning of a course, a neophyte devotee must try to keep himself apart from all kinds of alluring attachments. But the real position of a mature devotee is that even in the presence of all allurements, he is not at all attracted. This is the actual criteria of detachment. Hare Krishna.
Yes. Next, pridelessness. Rashmi Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam. Pridelessness. When a devotee, in spite of possessing all the qualities of pure realization, is not proud of his position, he is called prideless. In the Padma Puran, it is stated that King Bhagirath was the emperor above all other kings, yet he developed such ecstatic love for Krishna that he became a mendicant and went out begging even to homes of his political enemies and untouchables. He was so humble that he respectfully bowed down before them. There are many similar instances in the history of India. Even very recently, about 200 years ago or less, one big landlord known as Lal Babu a Calcutta landholder, became a Vaishnava and lived in Vrindavan. He was also begging from door to door, even at the homes of his political enemies. Begging involves being ready to be insulted by persons to whose home one has to come. That is natural, but one has to tolerate such insults for the sake of Krishna. The devotee of Krishna can accept any position in the service of Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Rukmini, go on.
Great hope. The strong conviction that one will certainly receive the favor of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is called in Sanskrit Asha Bandha. Asha Bandha means to continue to think, because I am trying my best to follow the routine principles of devotional service, I am sure that I will go back to Godhead, back to home. In this connection, one prayer by Rūpa Gosvāmī is sufficient to exemplify this hopefulness. He says, I have no love for Krishna, nor the causes for developing love of Krishna, namely hearing and chanting, and the process of Bhakti-yoga, by which one is always thinking of Krishna and fixing his lotus feet in the heart, is also lacking in me. As far as philosophical knowledge or pious works are concerned, I don't see any opportunity for me to execute such activities. But above all, I am not even born of a nice family. Therefore, I must simply pray to you, Gopijana Vallabha Krishna, maintainer and beloved of the gopis.
Yeah, please continue.
I simply wish and hope that some way or other I may be able to approach your lotus feet, and this hope is giving me pain because I think myself quite incompetent to approach that transcendental goal of life. The purport is that under this heading of Asha Bandha, one should continue to hope against hope that some way or other he will be able to approach the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord.
Correct. Thank you.
Thank you.
So this hope is there that one will attain the law. Now one may ask, if one is already doing so much sadhana, one is already so much advanced, is it not natural to have that hope that I will attain Krishna? Why there has to be an emphasis here that such a devotee always has hope one will get Krishna? The point is, because when you get advanced in Krishna consciousness, you start seeing your own your own shortcomings more. And then when you start seeing those shortcomings, then you become hopeless. And I'm such a fallen soul, I'm so sinful. How will I go back to Godhead? I'm not doing anything nicely. Though that person is doing everything very nice. But then that person starts thinking that I'm so full of faults. Looking at this situation, how will I go back to Godhead? So out of humility, that person thinks he or she is not qualified. So, right? But then that person also knows that Krishna is very merciful, Krishna is very kind. So then when that person thinks about Krishna's mercy, Krishna's compassion, Krishna's kindness, then that person has hope. Right? So this is the, what do you call, situation in the heart of that person. Looking at one's own weaknesses, one has no hope. But how will I go back to God? We cannot go. But then looking at Krishna's mercy and Krishna's compassion, yes, maybe Krishna will definitely take me. Next, eagerness for achieving the desired success.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Dandavat Pranam. When one is sufficiently eager to achieve success in devotional service, that eagerness is called samutkantha. This means complete eagerness. Actually, this eagerness is the price for achieving success in Krishna consciousness. Everything has some value, and one has to pay the value before obtaining or possessing it. It is stated in the Vedic literature that to purchase the most valuable thing, Krishna consciousness, one has to develop intense eagerness for achieving success. This intense eagerness is very nicely expressed by Bilva Mangala Thakura in his book Krishna Karunamrita. He says, I am eagerly waiting to see that boy of Vrindavan, whose bodily beauty is captivating the whole universe, whose eyes are always bounded by black brows and expanded like lotus petals, and who is always eagerly glancing over his devotees and therefore moving slightly here and there. His eyes are always moist, his lips are colored like copper, and through those lips there comes a sound vibration which drives one madder than a mad elephant. I want so much to see him at Vrindavan. Hare Krishna.
Hmm. Attachment to chanting the holy names of the Lord. In the same Krishna Karnamrita, there's another statement about the chanting of Radharani. It is said by one of the associates of Radharani, O Lord Govinda, the girl who is the daughter of King Vishabhanu is now shedding tears, and she is anxiously chanting your holy name, Krishna, Krishna. Eagerness to describe the Lord's transcendental qualities. Attachment for chanting the glories of the Lord is also expressed in the Krishna Karnamrita as follows. What shall I do for Krishna who is pleasing beyond all pleasurable conceptions, and who is naughtier than all restless boys? The idea of Krishna's beautiful activities is attracting my heart, and I do not know what can I do. Attraction for living in a place where Krishna has his pastimes. Sujata Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. In the book Padyavali by Rūpa Gosvāmī, there is the following statement about Vrindavana. In this place, the son of Maharaja Nanda used to live with his father, who was king of all cowherd men. In this place, Lord Krishna broke the cart in which the Sakat Asura demon was concealed. At this place, Damodara, who can cut the knot of our material existence, was tied up by his mother, Yashoda. A pure devotee of Lord Krishna resides in the district of Mathura or Vrindavana and visits all the places where Krishna's pastimes were performed. At these sacred places, Krishna displayed his childhood activities with the cowherd boys and Mother Yashoda. The system of circumambulating all these places is still current among devotees of Lord Krishna, and those coming to Mathura and Vrindavana always feel transcendental pleasure. Actually, if someone goes to Vrindavana, he will immediately feel separation from Krishna, who performed such nice activities when he was present there. Such attraction for remembering Krishna's activities is known as attachment for Krishna. There are Prabhuji can lift. Where haven't you, Prabhuji? Okay. And actually, if someone goes to Vrindavana, he will immediately feel separation from Krishna, who performed such nice activities when he was present there. Such attraction for remembering Krishna's activities is known as attachment for Krishna. There are impersonalist philosophers and mystics, however, by a show of devotional service, want ultimately to merge into the existence of the Supreme Lord. They sometimes try to imitate a pure devotion sentiment for visiting the holy places where Krishna had his pastimes, but they simply have a view for salvation, and so their activities cannot be considered attachment.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
It is said by Rupa Goswāmī that the attachment exhibited by pure devotees for Krishna cannot possibly be perfected in the hearts of fruitive workers or mental speculators, because such attachment in pure Krishna consciousness is very rare and not possible to achieve even for many liberated persons. As stated in Bhagavad Gita, liberation from material contamination is the stage at which devotional service can be achieved. For a person who simply wants to have liberation and to merge into the impersonal Brahma Jyoti, attachment to Krishna is not possible to acquire. This attachment is very confidentially kept by Krishna and is bestowed only upon pure devotees. Even ordinary devotees cannot have such pure attachment for Krishna. Therefore, how is it possible for success to be achieved by persons whose hearts are contaminated by the actions and reactions of fruitive activities and who are entangled by various types of mental speculation? Rukmini Govinda.
This imitative attachment can be divided into two headings, namely shadow attachment and para-transcendental attachment. If someone, without undergoing the regulative principles of devotional service or without being guided by a bona fide spiritual master, shows such imitative attachment, this is called shadow attachment. Sometimes it is found that a person actually attached to material enjoyment or material enjoyment or salvation has the good fortune to associate with pure devotees while they are engaged in chanting the holy name of the Lord. By the good grace of the Lord, one may also cooperate and join in the chanting. At that time, simply by the association of such pure devotees, the moonlight rays from their hearts reflect on him. And by the influence of the pure devotees, he may show some likeness of attachment caused by inquisitiveness, but this is very flickering. There are many.
Prabhu, you missed the previous paragraph, right? There are many so-called devotees who artificially think of Krishna's pastimes, known as Ashtakaliya Leela. Sometimes one may artificially imitate this, pretending that Krishna is talking with him in the form of a boy, or else one may pretend that Radharani and Krishna both have come to him and are talking with him. Such characteristics are sometimes exhibited by the impersonalist class of men, and they may captivate some innocent persons who have no knowledge in the science of devotional service. However, as soon as an experienced devotee sees all of these caricatures, he can immediately evaluate such rascaldom. If such a pretender is sometimes seen possessing imitative attachment to Krishna, that will not be accepted as real attachment. It may be said, however, that such attachment gives the pretender hope that he may eventually rise onto the actual platform of pure devotional service. Yes, now this is the paragraph that you are reading. Rupin going to
Yes.
continue.
Okay.
This
At
imitative.
that time, okay. This imitative attachment can be divided into two headings, namely shadow attachment and para transcendental attachment. If someone, without undergoing the regulative principles of devotional service or without being guided by a bona fide spiritual master, shows that imitative attachment, this is called shadow attachment. Sometimes it is found that a person actually attached to material enjoyment or salvation has the good fortune to associate with pure devotees while they are engaged in chanting the holy name of the Lord. By the good grace of the Lord, one may also cooperate and join in the chanting. At that time, simply by the association of such pure devotees, the moon-like rays from their hearts reflect on him, and by the influence of the pure devotees, he may show some likeness of attachment caused by inquisitiveness. But this is very flickering. And if by the manifestation of such shadow attachment one feels the disappearance of all material pangs, then it is called para attachment. Such shadow attachment or para.
Thank you. Okay. Yes, someone else would like to read. Gopal Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Such shadow attachment or para attachment can develop if one associates with a pure devotee or visits holy places like Vrindavan or Mathura. And if a ordinary man develops such attachment for Krishna and fortunately perform devotional activities in the association of pure devotees, he can also rise to the platform of pure devotional service. The conclusion is that transcendental attachment is so powerful that if such attachment is seen manifested even in some commandment, by association of a pure devotee, it can bring one to the perfectional stage. But such attachment for Krishna cannot be invoked in a person without him being sufficiently blessed by the association of pure devotees. As
Hmm.
attachment
Yeah, read, please.
as attachment can be invoked by the association of pure devotees, so attachment can also be extinguished by offenses committed at the lotus feet of pure devotees. To be more clear, by the association of pure devotees, attachment for Krishna can be aroused. But if one commits offenses at the lotus feet of a devotee, one's shadow attachment or para attachment can be extinguished. This extinguishing is like the waning of the full moon, which gradually decreases and at last becomes dark. One should therefore be very careful while associating with pure devotees to God against committing an offense at their lotus feet. Transcendental attachment, either shadow or para, can be nullified by different degrees of offenses at the lotus feet of pure devotees. If the offense is very serious, then one's attachment becomes almost nil. And if the offense is not very serious, one attachment can become second class or third class. If someone becomes attached to the principles of salvation or to merging into the existence of the Brahma Jyotir, his ecstasies gradually diminish into shadow and para attachment, or else transform into the principles of ahangrahopasana. This ahangrahopasana describes a living entity when he begins spiritual realization by identifying himself with the Supreme Lord. This state of self-realization is technically known as monism. The monist thinks himself one with the Supreme Lord. Thus, because he does not differentiate between himself and the Supreme Lord, it is his view that by worshipping himself, he is worshipping the Supreme Whole.
Thank you, Manish Rabbi.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Sometimes it is found that neophyte is taking part in chanting and dancing very enthusiastically, but within himself he is under the impression that he has become one with the Supreme Whole. This conception of monism is completely different from pure transcendental devotional service. If, however, it is seen that a person has developed a high standard of devotion without having undergone even the regulative principles, it is to be understood that his status of devotional service has achieved in a former life. For some reason or another, it has been temporarily stopped, most probably by an offense committed at the lotus feet of a devotee. Now, with a good second chance, it has again begun to develop. The conclusion is that steady progress in devotional service can be attained only in the association of pure devotees. If one can gradually advance his status in devotional service, this is understood to be due to causeless mercy of Krishna himself. If a person is completely detached from the material enjoyment and has developed pure ecstatic devotion, even if he is sometimes accidentally found not living up to the standards of devotional service, one should not be envious of him. It is confirmed also in Bhagavad Gita that a devotee who has unflinching faith in and devotion to the Lord, even if sometimes found to be accidentally devoted from the pure devotional characteristics, should still be counted among the pure. The unflinching faith in devotional service in the Lord Krishna and in the spiritual master makes one highly elevated in the activities of devotional service. Should we continue, Prabhuji?
In the Nrsimha Purana, it is stated, if a person has completely engaged his mind, body, and activities in the service of the Supreme Godhead, but externally is found to be engaged in some abominable activities, these abominable activities will surely be very quickly vanquished by the influence of his staunch devotional force. The example is given that on the full moon, there are some spots that may appear to be pockmarks. Still, the illumination spread by the full moon cannot be checked. Similarly, a little fault in the midst of volumes of devotional service is not at all to be counted as a fault. Attachment for Krishna is transcendental bliss. Amid unlimited volumes of transcendental bliss, a spot of some material defect cannot act in any way. So here we understood that the devotees on the platform of exhibits 9 reliable symptoms. But then there is another topic which Śrīla Rūpa Gosvāmī covered, which is ecstatic symptoms of bhav seen in neophytes or non-devotees. Is it possible? So it is possible. But then those symptoms are not steady. They may sometimes just come and go. No, right? Okay. So how to understand that? How does that happen? So you see, in general, such ecstatic symptoms are properties of pure and advanced souls. However, even in people who are not pure and advanced, these symptoms may sometimes be seen. Krishna generally will not bestow such ecstasies upon someone who is a karmi or a jnani or a yogi or, of course, a sinful person. However, there are 2 cases where you see such symptoms, and they have been technically called as rati abhas or bhava abhas. Abhas means shadow or reflection, and rati is another name of bhav. Okay. So then Rupa Goswami says there are 2 types of this shadow ecstasy, or you can say reflective ecstasy. In Sanskrit, it is called pratibimba and chaya. Pratibimba is translated as reflective, like you see, your reflection in the mirror. That's called pratibimba. And then there is chaya. Chaya is the shadow. So these are the 2 things, 2 types explained. So what is reflective attachment or pratibimba attachment? So that is explained here by Srila Prabhupada. So he says, you see, what is reflective? Someone may execute devotional service with an ulterior motive for fruitive gain or liberation. Fine. In this case, the motive is improper. In this case, the motive is improper. So practice is intense, but the motive is not correct. In that case, what will happen? If that person is in the association of advanced devotees, such person may sometimes feel ecstasy. Why? Because that person is associating with advanced devotees. Okay? So the ecstasy of the advanced devotee is getting reflected into the heart of this devotee. This is called pratibimba ratyabhavs. Fine. And the other is Chaya Pratyabhas, where someone may just step into devotional activities out of curiosity, or maybe because it's culture or tradition. And because of that, that person also begins to feel some ecstasy. Now, the intensity of this ecstasy is less than the intensity of Ratyabhas, Pratibimba Ratyabhas. This is less intense. But here the motive of that person is not corrupt, because that person is like a newcomer who is just trying to experience Krishna consciousness. Try it for once, right? So these people also may resemble ecstatic symptoms when they suddenly jump into a very ecstatic kirtan, or they first time see the deity, or first time they honor the holy prasadam, or first time they visit Vrindavan or Mayapur Dham. you know. So they may also show these symptoms, right? And these symptoms should not be taken as imitation. They also may be genuine, but they are not going to remain steadily in that person, because those symptoms are not property of that person. They are just being borrowed by the association of devotees, borrowed from the association of devotees. Fine. So these are two cases. Now, in which case the experience is more intense in the case of Pratibimba Ratyabhas. The intense is very, very strong. In Chaya Ratyabhas, it's not so strong. But Chaya Ratyabhas is more pure than Pratibimba, because in case of Chaya Ratyabhas, the person's intention is not corrupted. In case of Pratibimba Ratyabhas, the person has not pure intentions, in the sense that the person is not inclined to do pure devotional service. That person has inclinations towards karma or jnana or yoga. Fine. Now, if someone is experiencing this Rati Abhas, wants to transform this Rati Abhas into genuine bhav, is it possible? Yes, it is possible. How? By association of pure devotees. That is possible. That one can develop this, or one can show this, exhibit this genuine bhav, right? But then also Rupa Goswami says, just as by the mercy of Vaishnavas, pure Vaishnavas, one can develop bhava bhakti by committing offenses towards Vaishnavas, that bhav can also get destroyed. Right? So now we all understand that when we initially come to Krishna consciousness, we have such high-spirited enthusiasm for bhakti and its activities. And then in due course of time, that enthusiasm starts fading away. So the reason for that enthusiasm to go down is mostly Vaishnava Prarthana. Because service to Vaishnavas, Kripa of Vaishnavas, keeps the heart enthusiastic to perform bhakti. One feels the ecstasy of devotional service. And the opposite, the contrary, on the contrary side, offenses towards Vaishnavas makes the heart very dry. And one stops feeling the ecstasy of devotional service. So therefore it said that if one commits offense towards a devotee, whatever attachment one has received, whether that's real bhav or that's temporary bhav, everything is going to disappear. And then of all the offenses, which is considered to be most severe? Impersonalism, Mayavad. That's why it is said that if you associate with impersonalists or here Mayavad philosophy, your devotional service will be completely choked up or blocked. Fine. All right. And then there is another example of someone who never did any sadhana, but suddenly that person started showing ecstatic symptoms. Genuine. Example is of Vritrasura, Srimad Bhagavatam. You can read in Canto 6. He was born as a demon, and one fine day he's in the battlefield. Indra is on the other side, and suddenly he becomes so ecstatic in devotional service. Why? Because in previous life he was Chitraketu Maharaj. Due to some offense, what happened? Apparently, actually, it was an offense performed by him. What happened? He forgot he was a devotee. He became a demon. And after the time when the offense was nullified, the devotion suddenly came out again. Right? So that can also be case. So here at the end, Rupa Goswami just completes the chapter by warning us. What is the warning is giving? What is the warning is giving?
Not to offend a Vaishnava.
Even if you see some Vaishnava, especially those who might be advanced, to have some fault, then you should know that such faults will gradually get completely removed by the force of devotional service. So don't offend them or criticize them. Right? Okay. Any questions from this chapter? Yes, Gaurav.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Dandat Pranam. How can we understand that whether our flickering of ecstasy in devotional service is because of rati abhas or offenses to pure devotees?
No. The question is, I think, not proper, no? You're saying flickering of ecstasy. So how can, because of offense, there can be flickering of ecstasy?
Like sometimes when we are not feeling very devotionally ecstatic, and when all of a sudden, sometimes here and there we feel ecstasy when we associate with devotees.
Yeah, but then why you should think that that ecstasy which you feel is actually rati? I mean, little happiness you will feel in Krishna consciousness, right? You cannot say that is bhav or that is rati. Here we are talking about that level of ecstasy, which is crying of tears, goosebumps, that we don't feel and every now and then. Yeah. So it's not that every time I'm little happy in Krishna consciousness, I'll start thinking this is rati avas. We are talking about ecstasy of that level, which is experienced by bhava, bhakta. If you experience tiny amount of that, then you should know it's rati avas, which is like suddenly you go to Vrindavan and you feel so happy, your heart is just jumping out of your body. And I mean that you don't feel every day or every now and then. That happens once in a while. So that should be taken as rati avas. Not that, just because you're little happy. Not like that. Isn't it? Because little happiness, little sorrow, that you can even see as mood swing.
Yes, Prabhu.
Isn't it?
And Prabhu, if somebody has committed an offense but he does not know, and he realizes that I have committed an offense at the lotus feet of a Vaishnava, then how can he rectify, because he does not know to whom he committed the offense?
By praying Krishna to forgive one's offenses, by praying to the holy name to forgive one's offenses. If one does not know whom one has offended, then by praying to the holy name to Krishna.
Okay.
We have to pray, right? We have to pray.
Thank you, Prabhu. Krishna.
Right. Sudhir Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Dandavat Pranam. Prabhu, in this section, attraction for living in a place where Krishna has his pastimes, there is a statement which goes, actually, if someone goes to Vrindavan, he will immediately feel separation from Krishna, who performed such nice activities when he was present there. So, my understanding of this statement is that generally, when someone, even newcomers I've seen, they feel some attraction to Krishna even when they visit Vrindavan for the first time. But in that, going by this understanding, I did not quite understand this statement of feeling separation from Krishna.
Yeah, sometimes they may also feel separation when they leave Vrindavan. When they leave Vrindavan, or here separation means even the feelings of, too much feeling attached to Krishna, that Krishna is my everything. So that is possible. We have seen devotees who, when visit Dham for just 1 day or 2 days, and then they have to leave the Dham, they feel very, very miserable. So that is separation. That you are going to miss it.
So why it says someone goes to Vrindavan. So I was of the understanding while being in Vrindavan, they're feeling separation from Krishna. That is how I understood it. That is why I asked this question.
Yes. Someone goes to Vrindavan. That's related. That if you go to Vrindavan, you are in Vrindavan, you'll feel that ecstasy.
Prabhu, and you were mentioning about these two types of Pratibimba and Chaya Rati Abbas. If I understand it correctly, the second one, Chaya Rati Abbas, is the one where the intention is proper or pure.
Yeah.
So if the intention is pure and proper, proportionally the ecstasy should be also greater. But it's, as per your explanation, it's the other way around. So I did not.
Because it is just, you can say, example can be like, it's just the first contact. Chaya Rati Abbas is experienced by whom? To give you an example, let's say Indra Prabhu was singing Kirtan in Vrindavan Temple, iskcon Krishna Balaram, every day. He had a fixed slot. Now we know his potency, his purity. Right. So I have once or twice attended those kirtans. So when he would start singing, he used to sing in the slot before Gaur Aarti. So that time, darshan gets closed for some time, you know that. Then darshan open again, and then there is Aarti. So when he would start singing, people are just trickling in for the Aarti, evening Aarti, slowly, slowly, slowly. The temple will be most crowded during the Aarti time. So people are trickling in. And people would come to look at the Lord, take darshan, but his kirtan would be so attractive. that people would just turn around and instead of looking at Radha Shyam and Krishna Balaram, they would start looking at him. People would make a circle around him, and instead of looking at the deity, they would just start participating in the kirtan. Now, these are all new people. They don't know what is Vaishnavism, what is Vaishnava Parad, what is Bhakti, nothing. They don't know anything. They're just visitors. But in that kirtan, because of that association, dham, harinam, they will start jumping wildly, dancing, crying tears. Right? So this is Chaya Ratnams. Now, another case is, in that kirtan, there is a practicing devotee who has been practicing for 10 years, who has very intense practice, like chants 16 rounds, 32 rounds daily, does Vrindavan Parikrama, is very austere. But the intention is corrupt here does not mean that person is a sense gratifier or something like that. Intention is corrupt means that person is not really knowing what is pure devotional service. That person has some mixtures of karma, jnana, yoga, or something like that. But that person is also at the same time doing nice sadhana, intense sadhana. And that person is also getting a chance now to sit in this kirtan and participate in this kirtan. He or she also starts feeling some ecstasy because of that Harinam's influence, pure devotees association influence, Dham influence. So Rupa Goswami is saying, though here in that case, the intention of this person is not so pure, however, because that person's practice is quite intense of sadhana, the ecstasy experienced by this person will also be more.
So it is this desires for jnana which are coming as a hurdle in receiving that full mercy of that the devotee.
Yes, anyway, this is just a temporary experience for both of them, whether it's Pratibimba or Chaya.
Prabhu, in both the cases, they have material desires, no, Prabhu, and material desires
But
generally.
in one case, one is not aware that I have material desire and it's wrong, which is a newcomer. Therefore, that person's intention is not seen as corrupt.
Okay.
And in another case, the person knows I have material desires. Right?
Yeah. Yes. Thank you.
Understood.
Understood.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay, let's go to the next chapter. Last chapter, Prema Bhakti. Devotional service in pure love of God. So this bhav will then develop into prema. So bhav softens the heart, prema softens it completely. When bhav develops to its maximum state, it is called prema. Right? Fine. The prema bhakti is also defined in Chaitanya Charitamrita. Let's first look at that definition given in Chaitanya Charitamrita. Then we'll read the purport of Srila Prabhupada. Samyanmasrinata shanto mamattvati shayankatah bhava saiva sandratma buddhi prema nigatyate. When that bhav softens the heart completely, becomes endowed with a great feeling of possessiveness in relation to the Lord, and becomes very much condensed and intensified. It is called prema, the love of Godhead, by learned scholars. So when that bhav softens the heart completely, becomes endowed with a great feeling of possessiveness in relation to the Lord, and becomes very much condensed and intensified, it is called prema, love of Godhead, by learned scholars. So here again you see there are primary and secondary characteristics. The primary characteristic is bhavaha sa eva sandratma, that it is a condensed or intensified state of bhav. That is called prema. When bhav is completely condensed, intensified, that's called prema. And what is the next one? Mamatva atishayankitaha and samyan masrinita swanto. These are two secondary characteristics that it completely softens the heart and you want to desperately possess Krishna. Mamatva. So here Rūpa Gosvāmī explains that in ordinary devotional service, one has the feeling that I am Krishna's. That's the feeling. Okay. In ordinary devotional service. In advanced devotional service, like Bhava Bhakti or Prema Bhakti, the feeling changes and it becomes Krishna is mine. Because one understands that one has an eternal relationship with Krishna. And because of that eternal relationship with Krishna, one feels that Krishna is one's property. So Krishna is my son, Krishna is my friend, Krishna is my lover. And this feeling becomes very, very strong in prema. And the heart becomes completely soft. Okay. So let's read now. Please, Mukta Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Devotional service in pure love of God. When one's desire to love Krishna in one's particular relationship becomes intensified, this is known as pure love of Godhead. In the beginning, a devotee is engaged in the regulative principles of devotional service by the order of his spiritual master. When one thereby becomes completely purified of all material contamination, there develops an attachment and taste for devotional service. This taste and attachment, when gradually intensified in the course of time, becomes love. The word love can actually be applied only in relationship with the personality of Godhead. In the material world, love is not applicable at all. What goes on under the name of love in the material world is nothing but lust. There is a gulf of difference between love and lust, like the difference between gold and iron. In the Narada Pancharatra, it is clearly stated that when lust is completely transferred to the Supreme Godhead and the concept of kinship is completely reposed in him, such is accepted as pure love of God by great authorities like Bhishma, Prahlada, Uddhava, and Narada. Great authorities like Bhishma have explained that love of Godhead means completely giving up all so-called love for any other person. According to Bhishma, love means reposing one's affection completely upon one person, withdrawing all affinities for any other person. This pure love can be transferred to the Supreme Personality of Godhead under two conditions: out of ecstasy and out of the causeless mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead Himself. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Yes. So again, now here we are understanding how one comes to prema. How one comes to prema? One is you come to prema through bhav, that is out of ecstasy. And the other is you come to prema through out of you come to prema because of the causeless mercy of Supreme Lord. So did you see this special role that the mercy factor plays? We saw that from Vaidhi to Raganuga, one can come either because of practice or one can come from Vaidhi to Raganuga because of mercy. Or even one can just come to Raganuga out of mercy. Similarly, from Vaidhi or Raganuga, one can come to Bhav by practice or one can come to Bhav directly by mercy. And similarly here, one can come to Prema by going through the stage of Bhav, or one can come to Prema directly by mercy. So why this mercy thing is being so much highlighted? What is this mercy? I mean, how does this mercy come? What is meant by this mercy? It becomes a good question, I think. And who becomes a recipient of this mercy? What makes that person so special that that person gets a special mercy without doing anything, suddenly get Raga Nuga stage, without doing anything, suddenly get Bhava stage, without doing anything, suddenly get Prema stage? Isn't it? That question comes, right? So Rūpa Gosvāmī does not really explain anything for that question. But Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explains about that question in Madhurya Kadamba. What is this mercy? How does this mercy come? For whom it comes? Why it comes? He explains that there because he understands that this is something very interesting. Krishna's mercy just comes on someone. Why it happens? So he explains there, right? So prema arising from maturation of bhav, right? That is explained. And then prema by extraordinary mercy of the Lord. That is also explained. Fine. So we know bhav can be born because of someone having engaged into Vaidhi sadhan bhakti, and also bhav can be born because of someone having engaged into Raganuga sadhan bhakti. Isn't it correct? So these both types of premas are explained. Let's read this. Gaurav Prabhu, ecstasy.
Ecstatic love of Godhead can be potently invoked simply by following the rules and regulations of devotional service as they are prescribed in scriptures under the direction of a bona fide spiritual master. In the 11th canto, 2nd chapter, verse 40 of Srimad Bhagavatam, this ecstatic love born of execution of regulative devotional service is explained. A devotee, in the course of executing the regulative principles of devotional service, develops his natural Krishna consciousness, and being thus softened at heart, he chants and dances like a madman. While performing chanting of the holy name of the Lord, he sometimes cries, sometimes talks like wildly, sometimes sings, and sometimes, without caring for any outsider, dances like a madman. In the Padma Purana, there is a statement about ecstatic love born of spontaneous affection. Chandrakanti, a celebrated fair-faced girl, rigidly observed celibacy in order to obtain Krishna as her husband. She always engaged herself in meditating on the transcendental form of the Lord and always chanted the glories of the Lord. She did not desire to accept anyone else as her husband. She had firmly decided that only Lord Krishna would be her husband. Hare Krishna.
So these two paragraphs give examples of two types of prema, born from two types of bhava. The first paragraph is about someone who has come to bhava from the path of Vaidhi sadhana bhakti. And the next one is someone who has come to the bhava platform from Raganuga sadhana. Right? Okay. Next, the Lord's extraordinary mercy. Yes, Sujata.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. The Lord's extraordinary mercy. When a devotee is found to be always associated with the Lord in ecstatic love, it is to be understood that such a position has been awarded by the Lord Himself out of His causeless extraordinary mercy. An example of such extraordinary mercy is given in the 11th canto, 12th chapter, verse 7 of Srimad Bhagavatam, wherein Lord Krishna tells Uddhava, the gopis in Vrindavan did not study the Vedas to achieve me, nor had they ever been to holy places of pilgrimage, nor did they devoutly execute any regulative principle, nor did they undergo any kind of austerity. It is simply by my association that they have attained the highest perfection of devotional service. From the example of Chandrakanti, as found in the Padma Purana, and from the example of the gopis, as found in Srimad Bhagavatam, it appears that a devotee who always thinks of Krishna and who always chants his glories in ecstatic love, regardless of his condition, will attain the highest perfection of his. Prabhuji is left. Highest perfection of unalloyed devotional love due to Krishna, Lord Krishna's extraordinary mercy. This is confirmed in Srimad Bhagavatam. If a person worships, adores, and loves Hari, the Supreme Lord, he should be understood to have finished all kinds of austerities, penances, and similar processes of our self-realization. On the other hand, if after undergoing all types of austerities, penances, and mystic yoga practices, one does not develop such love for Hari, then all his performances are to be considered a useless waste of time. If someone always sees Krishna inside and out, then it is to be understood that he has surpassed all austerities and penances for self-realization. And if after executing all kinds of penances and austerities, one cannot always see Krishna inside and out, then he has executed his performances uselessly. Right.
Thank you, Mataji. Next paragraph. Rashmi Mataji.
Hare Krishna. Spontaneous attraction to Krishna, which is said to be due to the extraordinary mercy of the Lord, can be placed under two headings. One is profound veneration for the greatness of the Lord, and the other is one's being automatically attracted to Krishna without any extraneous consideration. In the Narada Pancharatra, it is said that if on account of profound veneration of the greatness of the Supreme Lord, one attains a great affection and steady love for him, one is certainly assured for attaining the four kinds of Vaishnava liberation, namely, achieving the same bodily feature as the Lord, achieving the same opulence as the Lord, dwelling on the planet where the Lord is residing, and attaining eternal association with the Lord. The Vaishnava liberation is completely different from the Mayavadi liberation, which is simply a matter of being merged into the effulgence of the Lord. In the Narad Pancharatra, pure unalloyed devotional service is explained as being without any motive for personal benefit. If a devotee is continuously in love with the Lord Krishna and his mind is always fixed upon him, that devotional attitude will prove to be only means of attracting the attention of the Lord. In other words, a Vaishnava who is instantly thinking of the form of Lord Krishna is to be known as a pure Vaishnava.
Thank
Okay.
you. Generally, a devotee who has achieved the causeless mercy of the Lord on account of following the strict rules and regulations of devotional service, becomes attracted by the supreme greatness of the Lord, by the transcendental beauty of the Lord, and by the spontaneous execution of devotional service. To be more clear, by executing the regulative principles of devotional service, one can fully appreciate the transcendental beauty of the Lord. In any case, such exalted positions are possible only by the extraordinary mercy of the Lord upon the devotees. So, whose example we came to know? Someone who came to the level of prema just by mercy. Krishna is giving that example to Uddhavji. The gopis in love. They did not study the Vedas. They did not go to any holy places of pilgrimage. They did not perform any kind of austerity. But then they got so much of mercy of Krishna, and therefore they became suddenly situated on the level of prema. Right? Now there are two types of prema. One is called prema bhakti, which is imbued with Mahatma Gyan. Mahatma Gyan means one has knowledge of Krishna's greatness, Lord Krishna's majesty. And the other is known as Kevala Prema. So that prema which is born of Vaidhi Sadhan Bhakti, that is called Mahatma Jnana Prema. And that prema which is born of Raganuga Sadhan Bhakti is known as Kevala Prema.
Prabhu, Mahatma, what thing? What did you say? Mahatma something different.
Mahatma Jnana. Mahatmaya. Mahatmaya means greatness. Gyan means knowledge. So, Kevala Prema is when you don't have any aspiration or interest for liberation into Vaikuntha or anything. You just want to serve Krishna selflessly, purely. That is Kevala Prema. Fine. Mahatma Jnana is, oh, God is so great. Next chapter, not next chapter, next section. Evolution to prema through association of devotees. Yes, Sonika Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. This is from association with pure devotees.
Yeah.
Association with pure devotees. Although many different processes for developing love of Godhead have been explained so far, Śrīla Gosvāmī now gives us generally description of how one can best achieve such a high position. The beginning of ecstatic love of Godhead is basically faith. There are many societies and associations of pure devotees, and if someone with just a little faith begins to associate with such societies, his advancement to pure devotional service is rapid. The influence of pure devotee is such that if someone comes to associate with him with a little faith, one gets the chance of hearing about the Lord from authoritative scriptures like Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. Thus, by the mercy of Lord, who is situated in everyone's heart, one gradually develops his faith in description of such authoritative scriptures. This is the faith stage of association with pure devotees. In the second stage, after one becomes a little advanced and mature, he automatically offers to follow the principles of devotional service under the guidance of pure devotee and accepts him as the spiritual master. In the next stage, under the guidance of the spiritual master, the devotee execute regulative devotional service, and as a result of such activities, he becomes freed from all unwanted occupations. When he is freed from unwanted occupations, his faith becomes steadily fixed, and he develops a transcendental taste for devotional service. Then attachment, then ecstasies, and in the last stage, there is pure love of Godhead. These are the different stages of development of pure love.
You. Yes. Achyuta prayers.
Hare Krishna. Only the most fortunate persons can achieve such success in life. Those who are simply academic students of the Vedic scriptures cannot appreciate how such development takes place. In the Narada Pancharatra, Lord Shiva therefore tells Parvati, my dear Supreme Goddess, you may know from me that any person who has developed the ecstasy of love for the Supreme Personality of Godhead and who is always merged in transcendental bliss on account of this love, do not even perceive the material distress or happiness coming from the body or mind. The affection and the dealings of love that are different branches of the original tree of love precede many varieties of affectionate manifestations that will not be discussed here. These different manifestations have been described by Sanatana Goswami in his Bhagavatamrita. Although the subject of such affection and dealings of love is very confidential, Sanatana Goswami has described them very explicitly. Sri Rūpa Goswami thus concludes the 5th division of the Bhakti-rasāmṛta-sindhu, offering up his treatise for the transcendental pleasure of Sanatana Goswami, who has established the transcendental beauty and of Gopal Bhatta Goswami, Sri Raghunath Bhatta Goswami, and Raghunath Dasa Goswami. It appears from this statement that the great Śrīla Jiva Goswami was not yet active when Bhakti-rasāmṛta-sindhu was written. Thus ends the Bhakti-vedanta summary study of the 1st division of Bhakti-rasāmṛta-sindhu, up to the description of ecstatic love of Godhead, which are to follow next.
Thank you. So here at the end, Rupa Goswami gives those 9 stages through which a devotee goes to come to prema. It starts with Shraddha, then Sadhu Sangha, right? Bhajan Priya, Anartha Nivritti, Nishtha, and then comes to prema at the end. So this is explained by Rupa Goswami. And then he says, if you want to know the subject matter in detail, then you should study Brihad Bhagavatamrita written by Śrīla Sanatana Goswami. So what Rupa Goswami has done is that he explains the science of development of devotional service. What Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur did later is, which we'll study in Madhurya Kadambini, he explained each of the stages in great depth. And what Sanatana Goswami did is, he showed how in the life of a particular devotee known as Gokumar, these things develop. So that's like an example. That's like the story. Rupa Goswami explained the science, and Sanatana Goswami gave a story. Understood? So you see, they work with each other so well to contribute to the mission of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, to explain the science of pure devotional service. All right, any question from this chapter? So this is the last class for Nectar of Devotion and for the Bhakti-sastri course. Next week, you will have your exams. Please try to complete on time. Everything, the pending quizzes, the essays, the CBAs. Yes, Achita Priyasini Mataji.
Prabhu, the 4 kinds of Vaishnava liberation that they're talking here, what are the Sanskrit terms for these?
Yeah, so the 4 kinds of Vaishnava liberation they're talking about are Sarupya, Samipya, Sashti, Salokya. The 5th one is Sayujya, which a Vaishnava does not want. Sayujya means to merge into the Supreme. So that a Vaishnava does not want. Sayujya Mukti. But the other 4, a Vaishnava wants. Right? Right? Any other question? So we'll stop here. Thank you very much. Hare